All right, everybody, with primary day in New York fast approaching, we are breaking down the state of the 2021 race for mayor tonight. And whether you've been with us all night or just joining us right now, we are happy to have you here. I'm Dan Manarino. You know, this special program follows the final debate between the Republican candidates for mayor. Guardian Angels founder Curtis Sliwa and businessman Fernando Mateo spent nearly an hour together on the debate stage right here in the Pix 11 studios. Only one can win the Republican nomination and potentially become the first GOP candidate elected mayor in over 15 years. The two went after each other tonight on issues of policing, crime, jobs, homelessness, and a whole lot more. And afterwards, we went one-on-one with them, asking how they thought they did tonight.
I think it went well. I think that people realize that I have an agenda, that I have positions, not policies, and that I am real, that I am the only true Republican in this race.
Feeling good. I was listening to Fernando, my opponent. He said he doesn't have positions. Well, he's got positions, but not policies. I got policies. I wanted everyone to know they could go to CurtisSliwaForMayor.com.
All right, so let's talk about the debate and get some analysis right now from our political experts. They have stayed with us all night long. I have with us Democratic strategist Dr. Susan Johnson-Cook and Fairleigh Dickinson professor Dan Cassino. So thank you both for sticking around. First and foremost, a little more subdued tonight, huh?
Yes, yes.
Right, than usual, because usually they're rowdy and they're loud with one another, but it was about the issues tonight. So let's focus on the issues, because as our city continues its recovery from the pandemic, the candidates addressed what they would do to get people back to work, and I want you to listen to this.
We've got to stimulate people to say we've got to incentivize them, pay for their transportation to the job, work with those who are owners and operators of these businesses, and encourage the growth of the mom and pop shops, which are closed now, with my right to business plan.
I would give 10% payroll tax breaks to any business that comes to New York City. I will encourage and I will invite businesses from around the world to come and start up in New York, because New York City will be their partner in their success.
You walk down the street, you see a lot of signs for rent right along the cities. Getting people back to work is pivotal for this next mayor. Dr. Cook, did they have specifics on those plans?
Specifics, but not realistics, if that's the right word. You know, Mateo kept saying, I'm the real New Yorker, again, using that word real, have partnerships. But Curtis Sliwa afterwards said, but if we don't get the crime down, no one's going to be attracted to New York. So I think you have to partner the crime and the reality of people coming back to New York, and jobs being created, and mom and pop stores being reinvigorated.
Yeah, I mean, a mom and pop shop really makes a neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
So, Dan, your thoughts overall on the comments that you just heard there?
Look, I mean, a lot of these are potentially huge programs. We're going to start subsidizing people's rides into New York City. Now, someone who lives in New Jersey, that sounds great. I'd love it if someone was paying for my bus fare. But it doesn't seem like that's something realistically that New York City, even as a city, can do. That's a state or even a federal policy. So it's not clear that there are any real obvious solutions to what we're talking about. Certainly tax breaks are good, but we're also at a point where the city needs money. In deciding not to tax the businesses doesn't seem like a realistic proposition right now.
You know, both candidates were very critical, and we touched upon this earlier, about how the city handled education during the pandemic, especially the virtual learning aspect that so many parents had to deal with, right? Let's take a listen to what they had to say tonight.
We should have had our schools opened up a long time ago like other cities, but oh no, we decided on virtual teaching. I witnessed my sons, Anthony, who's in high school, Carter, who's in junior high school, Hunter, who's in grade school, as they had their laptops. And then all of a sudden, halfway through the lesson, it's Fortnite, Roblox, kids are running around, different teachers on different occasions, back in
Mr.
school.
Sliwa.
Parents have the right to decide what they're going to do with their children. Government has no place in your home. Government has to allow you to live in a free country, because the United States of America is a free country.
Look, a lot of families are looking forward to what exactly the fall school year will mean for their children who had to go through an entire year of remote learning. Dan, let's begin with you first and foremost on the actual plans for school kids.
Look, this is one of the strongest possible issues for Republican candidates in New York City, because this is one of those areas where a lot of parents aren't deciding on a partisan basis. They are really looking at and saying the same things that Mr. Sliwa was saying. It's like, look, my kids are getting distracted. We need to do something to help it out. Now, what exactly were the concrete plans to actually make sure it's safe for those kids? there weren't really very much in the way of specifics other than we shouldn't let the teachers' unions have too much of a say.
Dr. Cook, 20 seconds here.
He didn't talk about safety whatsoever. I mean, he talked about the virtual learning, and for minority kids, it was a disadvantage in terms of that. But then he did talk about the Department of Education being taken over by the mayor's office. I'd be intrigued to hear more about that.
Yeah, it was very interesting, too, that they both actually said no vaccines mandated for children in New York City schools, where we saw about half of the Democratic candidates said that they would, and we'll get into that in just a bit. But I also, you're sticking around. I want to get to what a lot of people at home are talking about as well. Reacting to this debate on Twitter, you were using the hashtag #PixMayoralDebate. Thank you for that. So let's bring you into the conversation and see what you are saying tonight. Julia said, the biggest difference between Mateo and Sliwa is that Mateo refused to apologize for drug busts at La Marina, while Sliwa apologized for past remarks about Melissa Mark Favorito and pretending to be a mariachi. AK says, come on, fellas, please come up with a better material than Donald Trump talking points. Next up, we have Poli-Sci Econ Salsa, who says, I got to tell you, this debate is so far the best debate of the season. Both Sliwa and Mateo are bringing concrete, sensible ideas. So we're going to continue the conversation on social media, everybody, using that hashtag that remains at the bottom of your screen, Pix11 Mayoral Debate. In the meantime, coming up, we have a lot more to talk about, and we're going to be talking about the Democrats, how they are doing ahead of the primary. But as we go to break, we do want to leave you with some fun facts about Curtis Sliwa and Fernando Mateo.
If New Yorkers remember you for one thing after the debate, what's that one thing you want them to remember you by?
The love for my city.
One thing I'd want them to know is that Curtis Sliwa stands there, and he can take it, as well as dish it out. I mean, that's the key. That's the way New Yorkers are.
When you were 5 years old, what was your dream job?
A police officer.
Oh, when I was 5 years old, I was on 88th and Boyd in Ozone Park on my tricycle picking up garbage. I wanted to be a sanitation guy.
Go-to place for pizza.
Rocky's Pizza on 14th Street in Manhattan.
Best place, Stromboli's. First Avenue, St. Mark's. I lived on that for years when I organized the Guardian Angels.
Favorite movie that takes place right here in New York City.
Saturday Night Fever.
Oh, without a doubt, Goodfellas.
Mets or Yankees?
Both.
Don't even talk Mets to me. You can't be both. Typical politicians, oh, I'm both. No, I'm a Yankee fan, tried and true, and I hate the Mets.
Favorite New York landmark?
Empire State Building.
It's Grand Army Plaza in Brooklyn.
Have you ever ridden the Cyclone at Coney Island?
Yes, I have.
Oh, I've ridden the Cyclone many times.
Been to the Bronx Zoo?
Yes, I have.
I've been to the New York Bronx Zoo and naturally the gardens next store, the Botanical Gardens.
Toured the Statue of Liberty?
I love Lady Liberty.
No, I've never toured the Statue of Liberty. I don't think most New Yorkers have. People from New York City, it's generally, Circle Line crew, for tourists, Statue of Liberty, Ellis Island, tourists. I never have.